God of War Ragnarok, Kratos went through a transition that I think many veterans of the original games would not expect. He starts off as this vessel of pure rage and vengeance, willing to do unspeakable things for what he believed to be the greater good. During the last two games, though, and culminating at the end of Ragnarok, Kratos is no longer a destroyer, but as the narrative team at Santa Monica has explained, he is now a rebuilder. Some could even argue a god of peace. He got there thanks to the influences of those around him, Freya, Mimir, but mostly his family, Faye and his son Atreus, both of whom truly loved him and wanted him to recognize the love they had and use it to combat the pain and trauma that literally plagues his skin and soul. This metaphor was expressed more literally at the end of the game when Atreus informs Kratos that he has to journey alone now, become his own man, and try to save the remnants of his people, but he promised to leave something behind.
There are other giants out there, and I've got to find them. I think I know where to look, but they're my responsibility. I need to do this alone. I don't want to do it alone, but I need to. It's hard to explain.
Does it frighten you?
Yeah.
That is why you must do it.
Like you taught me. Yeah.
We survived today because of your choices. Who to trust, who to call friend. Son, you are ready.
Remember our promise.
Loki will go. Atreus. Atreus remains.
Take care of everyone.
That little moral voice to always open your heart to the suffering of others is how Kratos avoided his fate of dying, by following the words of Atreus, learning to be better, and making different choices. According to Faye's prophecies, this will lead Kratos to being worshipped as a real god, something he never dreamt he would have in his life, a true paramount of strength and power, not due to the destructive hate in his heart, but thanks to the love and fortitude he learned, allowing him to continue on. All of that to say, what is going to happen to our God of War? This is a very natural moment for the story of Kratos to end. He went through his pain, he got his vengeance, he learned the damage of that vengeance, and learned to open his heart to others, thus completing the circle and rebuilding. Now, will Santa Monica retire Kratos the Rebuilder? I think that unfortunately, economics might not make that possible, as God of War Ragnarok is such a massive success. But let's say they did. Who could be the next God of War? The most obvious choice has to be Atreus or Loki. He's Kratos' son, he taught Kratos how to be a better man, and most importantly, he has a journey ahead of him, his quest to find the lost giants. If they fast forwarded the timeline maybe 10-20 years, with Atreus now a grown man, more powers, more responsibilities, and importantly more temptations, we could see a storyline where Loki travels to distant lands, perhaps even the Egyptian lands, to find giants who have gone off the beaten path and are stuck there. Or maybe in that idea of stories closing, Atreus, now Loki, will have to do something for his father, maybe even save his life by going to these new lands. The possibilities are endless, but I do worry kind of fundamentally that a more lithe, elf-like hero starring in God of War won't work. It's always been this freight train of a man that kind of shifts what fans can go for and what they can handle. Also, in terms of the acting, I don't know if Loki has the charisma to really hold the franchise moving forward. One other possibility has to be mentioned: Thrud, Thor's daughter. Throughout the story, she's a foil for Atreus, an earlier version of him that has similar weaknesses and yearns for a supportive family, but also has a purpose. She eventually figures out the true evil of Odin and is horrified when her father dies in front of her eyes. Thor, who in many ways is a foil for Kratos, never had the chance to change his choices and become a better man. That is a huge motivating factor for Thrud going forward, but most importantly, at the end of the game, she's ready to train as the coveted warriors known as Valkyries, and she has a pretty powerful weapon.
Wait a bloody moment. Is that?
Thor's hammer and his daughter.
I'll make you proud, Dad.
Well, good for her.
How about that? Didn't I tell y'all there'd be something to see? Feels half crazy to say it, but I got a good feeling about that Thrud girl. Never minding what family she came from.
I quite agree. She's an impressive young woman.
I thought you might. Why, I ain't never seen anyone quite so awestruck as when she laid eyes on you back at the hole. Like meeting her idol.
She was apparently quite eager to learn from all the Valkyries. Now that she has Mjolnir, I expect her next stop will be to begin training with Sigrun.
I think Brock and Sindri would be happy knowing that hammer's finally with someone worthy to wield it. And a future Valkyrie, no less.
That, of course, is Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. It's just so open-ended and begging for a story to be told. I really do think that Santa Monica wants to keep telling the story of Thrud in some capacity. It would be an opportunity for a female lead, and she does have a similar moveset to Kratos in terms of gameplay. Big, strong, and honestly, who doesn't want to swing around Thor's hammer? Her motivation, though, for traveling to a new land is a little more difficult to speculate on. Obviously, you can just plop her there and then have the story explain itself, kind of what Kratos did in the Nordic lands. Unfortunately, though, some of the more prejudiced God of War fans may revolt at the notion of even playing as a woman, so maybe this won't be the star of the new God of War franchise, but I really do believe there is more of a story that is going to be told for Thrud. Finally, an important addition has to be the Other, a completely new character, perhaps a relative of the god Set or Horus in Egypt, or God of War in the Maya Empire. Both of these regions have been talked about by the development team. The notion, though, that Kratos, after the events of God of War Ragnarok, could narratively begin again as this ruthless, vengeance-seeking God of War in a new location seems unlikely, and honestly, I really believe this is not the direction that Santa Monica wants to go. It doesn't make sense to everything that's been told. You can't tell the redemption story again without losing some of the impact of the original, and I just don't see Kratos moving backward when he's worked so hard to get where he is. Still, though, a Mayan snake god seeking blood sounds really fun as hell, or maybe a Valkyrie with Thor's hammer destroying pyramids could be even better. You know, where do you think the God of War story will go? Do you think Kratos can still be the God of War after Ragnarok? And if not, who is the best candidate to fill his shoes?